Hey friends, welcome back to A Culture of Inspiration, the podcast for artists sponsored by Counterculture DIY. I'm your host, Sarah Brown, and together with my husband, I own Counterculture DIY, where we serve artists by providing everything you need for your resin art, and we do it with a lot of heart. This season, you'll be hearing from other artists as they share their stories, their successes, triumphs, tragedies, failures, tips, and inspiration. Join me every Tuesday for a new episode. I can't wait for you to hear what we've got in store. Hi friends, welcome to this season's final episode. I'm sure you're all hustling to get ready for Christmas, either making gifts, finishing orders, or shopping, parties, and all the fun stuff that comes with this time of year. Today, I have a really special guest. Our friend Mindy DaPrato of Minderella Creations was one of the first viral tumbler makers, and her YouTube videos played a huge part in launching the tumbler community into what it is today. Mindy is here to share her story, from getting started in tumbler making to building her YouTube channel, and of how 1 year ago, while the rest of the world was making preparations for a joyous holiday, she experienced an unthinkable tragedy. I know you're going to be touched by Mindy's faith, resilience, and optimism as she has continued to move forward through her grief and use her platform to inspire and encourage others. We sat down on the 1 year anniversary of her husband's passing to chat about all of it. Here's our interview. Well, hi, Mindy. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
We are so happy to have you here.
I am happy to be here.
Well, and you are a longtime friend of CCDIY. And For anybody who isn't familiar with you, why don't you just introduce yourself and tell us about where you fit into the tumbler community?
Sure. I have been part of the tumbler community for approximately 7 years, I think now. I got into tumblers because I was wanting a glitter cup. And at the time, there was not very many people that were actually making them. And so I had tried to get one on Etsy. And the person that made him was Erin Grease from Big Brother. And her store, she would sell out super fast every time she would open it up. So I realized that I was probably not going to be able to get one from her. So I ended up just going out and YouTubing stuff. And there really wasn't much out there at the time of like YouTube tutorials or anything. There was like 2, I think, that I found. And so I just started researching, what could be used and all the things about anything glitter and tumblers. And I ended up going to, I think, Walmart and Michael's, and I picked up some starter supplies, and I rigged up a cup where I could turn my my cup for the resin to actually level. And that was how I got started in it. I started with Walmart glitter, and I think Alumilite epoxy was what I used from Michael's. So
yep.
It's been a long road since then. Definitely taken many turns. I went from hand turning. I was one of the OG hand turners, and back in the day when we didn't have the cool rotisseries that they have now, or cuptisseries as they call them. But yeah, that was how I got started, as I wanted to make myself a cup. And I think my very first cup, I used Mod Podge and applied it. And I realized afterwards that the epoxy actually was put on a little too soon. And so my Mod Podge and everything just kind of shrank and shriveled. It was hilarious. Yes. So that first tumbler, I ended up stripping and redoing. But I made my mom and my mother-in-law cups to begin with, and my niece. So those are my first cups that I made, were gifts to other people. So that was really fun. That was
I think that's how so many people have started out. It was like, well, I wanted one for
yeah.
myself, so I made one, and then it turned into gifts,
Oh
and then it
yeah.
turned into a business. And
Yeah, I mean it's like that thing that you see the meme where you you can buy it or you can make it yourself for like $5,000
yeah.
basically because it's way more expensive when you get into it and make it yourself, but it's more fun.
Yes. Yeah. Why buy it for $7
Exactly.
when you
Yep.
can spend 50 hours and
Exactly. Yep.
$500?
Yep.
Well, and you have been such an inspiration to so many people. You are so well known in the community from your YouTube and teaching others and showing others because you were one of the OGs. And like you said, when you
Yeah.
started, you had like two
Yeah, there was not
videos
much out
to
there.
search from. So tell us what like inspired you to start that and how that went.
I was in, I believe it was a silhouette cameo Facebook group to begin with. And so there was, several people in there that were sharing different things with glitter tumblers and just a few things that they were glittering. And then it became like there was just so many people that were that were doing it that they were like, why don't you take your stuff elsewhere? And so at the time, that's when a new group called Glitter for Days was born. And so that was where we all shared, like, the Tumblr community kind of got started and everybody started sharing all their glitter things with tumblers and how to do them. And I had posted quite a few things and everybody was asking, well, how did you do that? How did you do that? And so instead of like writing the thing out, 5,000 times, I was like, well, let me just do a video and I'll, throw it on my YouTube. That way you guys can, have it so you can refer to it later, which I didn't realize at the time, but I actually have gone back and referred to my own videos because I forget how to do things.
So it's like a diary.
It is. It's kind of like a tutorial for myself too. So yeah, that's how I got started. I had made a few videos to just show the process and show, kind of how to do it with each of the different steps. I did the, glittering. I did some striped cups and showed how I taped it off and how to do that. And then somebody had mentioned they wanted a video of the whole process. And so that's kind of where I got started with where it kind of blew up on YouTube was I had made a YouTube from glitter to epoxy and is what it was called. And then I just showed the whole entire process of each step and how it was done. And the video just kind of went viral, I guess, and it had a lot of views. And so it grew from there. I started posting more videos as I could. And, at the time I was full-time worker. I worked at a healthcare software company and had just had a baby, like literally a month before I started doing that, which she's almost 7 now. So it's been, a crazy adventure in that amount of time.
Yeah, and the Tumblr world has just come
Oh,
so far. And
yes, it has.
the techniques and the
Oh
artwork
my
that
gosh,
people
yes.
come up with is just amazing.
It really
And
is.
from those days of just a simple glittered cup with
Right.
a black vinyl name on it, and everyone thought those were amazing.
Those were so cool.
Yeah. And
now they have all these different things that they do. It's amazing. I mean, there are so many techniques out there. And granted, most of the techniques are probably from another medium, coming from, nail designs or painting, and just there's so many different ways you can design them. But it's really grown. And I've really enjoyed just seeing how it took off and seeing how my videos inspired other people to create videos too, and just kind of share their processes. And now there's like, people that have a whole businesses off of, just doing YouTubes and sharing and teaching. And I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I do too. I am so in awe when I see how people really do. They make a business out of teaching others. And I think that's the best way to grow a business anyway, is to share and I
It's
I
so
just love
wonderful.
it. Yeah, it is such a neat community, very unique, I think, because
Yes.
other art mediums aren't as generous with information and
Right.
knowledge like the Tumblr and resin art community is.
Yeah.
So,
And it can be cutthroat too, but that's
yes.
where, I know you guys have probably experienced it and, I've experienced it, but I just tried to stay positive and keep my outlook as far as just helping other people and to just be a cheerleader for everybody else, because in the end, that's what's the best thing to do.
Yes. And I think the people who take that outlook are the more successful people. I think the people who are more cutthroat, I think that just comes from their personality. They're probably that way in every aspect of their life.
Yeah.
But people who do have that kind of toxic or negative side, they don't typically tend to be the ones that grow, and they definitely aren't
Yeah.
inspiring a lot of people, you know?
Yep. Yep.
Why don't we just kind of get into what the last couple years of your life have been like? You alluded to that, the tumbler making is kind of taken a back seat, and people
Yep.
who follow you on social media and stuff probably know your story, but why don't you just kind of start from the beginning of that and
Sure.
just share your story?
Sure. So I have been doing tumblers since, like I said, for like about 7 years almost. My first few years was pretty good. I just did it as I could. I made tutorials, shared supplies, worked with, companies, because as I was learning how to do it and how everybody else in the community was learning how to do it, there was a lot of people that were tumbler makers that became, suppliers of glitter, of vinyl, of, all the things that you can possibly need for a tumbler. So it was really fun to see the community grow, but to also see those artists to kind of find their niche and find where they thought that tumbler makers needed suppliers. So that was always fun. But I always just like to share, like to teach. That was kind of my thing. So I did that for quite a while. And then, life kind of got a little crazy a few years back. My mom was in the hospital for a bit. And right about that same time, I ended up losing my job. I got laid off. And so it was a really hard time, I guess. At the time, it was hard to, at the time I thought, well, I'm going to focus on tumblers, because I have the time now. Well, when you're going through something hard like that, it's really hard to like focus on being creative and focus on the positives when I felt like just applying for jobs and, relearning everything and trying to get up on the latest technologies and all of that stuff it was really a full-time job in itself. So I really found it quite difficult at the time. And I was about 3 or 4 months, I think, without a job. And then I found a job and it was a wonderful job. I really enjoyed it. I was working in a company that was health software as well. And it was artificial intelligence stuff. And I was doing requirements writing and that kind of thing. So it was really fun. About a month into that, I think, my whole family got COVID, which was crazy. We had avoided it for quite a while and over a year because it was in November, right before Thanksgiving. And so it kind of went downhill from there. My husband had it for about a week and he was showing, just signs of coughing and he had coughing fits and just oxygen dropping and stuff like that. The rest of us didn't get it as bad as he did. The kids pretty much got over it in a few days and they were on their way. I still had lingering cough and a little bit of the chest congestion and stuff like that, but it wasn't as affected like what he had done. So it was about a week, and his oxygen had dropped super low at home. And so he ended up going into the ER and he got admitted. And that was, November 29th, I believe, of 2021. And over the next 2 weeks, we really had a lot of ups and downs and just seeing him struggle. He was vented after 2 days in the hospital. And he actually passed away exactly 1 year ago today, on December 13th, 2021. So it was a really rough time. I luckily had a good support system during the whole entire time that he was in the hospital. I think having the Tumbler community was amazing because I had so many people that were praying for us, so many people that were reaching out to me, making sure I'm okay, making sure if we needed anything, the kids needed anything. It was just, it was amazing. So thank you to everybody that was, involved during that time, because it was really a rough time. And I really felt loved by the community. And I really felt like the reason why this journey even started could have been because God placed me in a community of people that was so loving and supportive that, it got me through. So, try not to cry, but it was just, it really makes you feel like God thinks about you. And just, he hears your heart, and he knows what you need even before you do. So, I definitely felt that, during that time. And so, yeah, that kind of started off the end of the year last year was pretty rough. My Christmas was pretty rough. I shared my journey through my Facebook and through my social media. I think it's good to share. It was kind of therapeutic for me, I think, to share as well. And I just wanted people that may be going through something similar or may have faced something similar to just know that there's hope outside of what we can do. And there's, even if things don't go okay and they don't turn out how we would like them to know that there's hope still in that. My husband was saved and I'm saved, and I know that we will see each other again someday. And I really felt God's presence throughout that entire time for us. So just, it's the little things that are such big things when you look back at them. The job that he had placed me in, the people that he surrounded me with, the Tumbler community that he had placed me with. I mean, even my insurance agent, because we had a roof leak, and they weren't going to fix it, and so I was, just frustrated because I didn't know what to do, and we were worried that the water was going to continue to leak into the roof, and the kindness of my insurance agent, just, she felt the pressing of the Lord on her heart to enter us into a competition for a Christian radio station in Kansas City, and we ended up winning. And so we got Christian Brothers Roofing. They gave us a free roof. They put all new gutters, all new faucets, everything in our house, and it's just been such a blessing. It's like God shows up. He just really does. And so that's kind of the first part of my year. And then the last year, I guess. And then the kind of just, we were on autopilot mainly, I guess, is what you'd say, for the last, 6 months, I think. And, my kids were in sports and doing things. So we were, stayed active. We tried to do all the normal things. We, kept pushing forward. My son's baseball team was just amazing through it. They came and put up lights for us at Christmas last year and provided us with so much just love and support. My work did as well, and just the family and friends and the Tumbler community too. I mean, everybody was just amazing, and just definitely reassured me that God cares for us. And as we went into, this year, it was another hard year. In August, I ended up losing my job that I had again. So in the week before that, my dog died, which, I mean, it's like you feel sometimes like you're just a country song, because it's or like a really bad Hallmark movie. Because whatever could go wrong, it felt like it was. But the things that I've seen, God's really just placed everything perfectly. And I the timing, we always try to rush God or rush what's going on in our lives and speed through things. And you really just have to trust and have faith that God is going to pull us through. God is going to move the things that need to be moved. He's going to put you where you need to be. And he's surely done that for us over this last year and a half. One of the things I just want to touch back on is even when I got laid off from my original job back the June before, was when my mom had gone into the hospital. And so it gave me the time to be home with my kids full time at that point, because my parents cared for my kids while I worked during the summer. And so it really gave me that time to bond with them too before Justin passed. So just having that relationship, and being able to build that relationship with them during that time really gave us time to bond and grow stronger. And I'm very thankful for that. So even in the midst of chaos and, the crazy, there's purpose, definitely. And then I've ended up getting a new job and I'm really loving it. So that's kind of been my last crazy year.
Well, I think you make such a beautiful point about how we want to rush things, and in the moment when you're neck deep in something, you can't see the bigger purpose. But just like you had that time with your kids to grow closer to them, you have really had to rely on each other.
We
even
really have.
As young as your children are, they've had to grow up very quickly.
They have. Yep. My son is 11, and my daughter will be 7 in December. And both of them have really just showed so much maturity through this whole thing. And my son, I really, I didn't know how much he knew until, he had to know. So it's been eye-opening to just kind of let him, lead what he can lead and let him do, but also kind of put him in his place sometimes because he's not the parent. So I kind of have to remind him that sometimes. The girl, my daughter, she reminds him too. Don't tell me what to do.
She probably takes some joy in reminding him and putting him in his place.
Yes, she surely does.
Well, and I don't know if enjoy is the right word, but I have been touched by how open you have been through your journey and sharing the struggles, the highs and the lows.
Yeah.
You've gone through something that's unimaginable for most of us, and you have done it with such grace and poise. And maybe it didn't feel like that in your darker moments, but to those of us who were praying for you and had you in our hearts, the grace that you have had through this. And I think the thing that always stands out to me, and you've said it several times, is today we did the next thing, and tomorrow we'll do the next
thing. We'll do the next thing. Yep. And that's all you can do is just keep doing the next thing. And that's what we've done for the last year and a half. Is just putting one foot in front of the other, and just, if you can't do, the laundry and the dishes and everything today, just get up. Like getting up and just being present with your kids. That's what some days that's all I could do, is just be present. And I definitely have, like I said, sharing my journey has been something that I've really enjoyed, I guess. I'm not really sure if it's enjoyed, but it's just, I like to put into words how I'm feeling. And because it was very therapeutic for me to do that. And also I felt like it was God pressing on me to share it, because I've been given a platform, and I've been given a bunch of people to talk to. So I felt like I should share that. And I definitely share the good, the bad, and the ugly. I've always said that, my Facebook, my Instagram, everything it's not a highlight reel. Like, I'm going to share the messy, I'm going to share, the crazy, I'm going to share the sad, but I'm also going to share the love and the hope that I have, because that's what has carried me through.
Well, by being given that platform, you really have used your circumstance to inspire and uplift so many people. And it is kind of neat to see the progression. You gained that platform through teaching tumblers, and then certainly you would have never anticipated that how your life would turn out over the last year or so.
Right.
But you were given a large community that could be touched by your story. And so it is neat to see how God works. And who would have thought 7 years ago that,
oh, I know,
that's where it would lead.
Yeah. And it's not like I didn't monetize my YouTube channel until after I hit 100,000 subscribers, which I know is pretty crazy because everybody was like, why don't you monetize? And I loved sharing Christian music and uplifting music in my videos. And that was kind of my thing. So just I got so many comments of people saying, well, I love your music and thank you for just, I forgot I was even watching a video because I was just jamming to the tunes that you had. But I just really felt that I wanted to continue to share that kind of music, which YouTube has made it really hard to do because they keep, they keep making you not have certain songs. And so it's hard to find songs. And I know I've dealt with that in the last few that I've posted, but it's really been good to get that feedback. And you're going to have haters. I mean, there's going to be people that just, they don't like you for whatever reason. You're wearing a dumb shirt, your hair's weird, your eye blinks funny. I mean, there's just always going to be somebody that doesn't like something about you. And I've really just, I've really learned to have a tougher skin and just kind of, just be authentically me. I'm imperfect and that's just how I am. And I don't really care. I'm going to be goofy. I'm going to be silly. I'm going to share all the weird things that I do and everything. It's just who I am. So I really think I was able to kind of bring my personality into my videos as well and just share what I liked.
Well, and I know for me, I appreciate that about somebody. I don't need somebody with, Facetune and,
yeah, exactly.
that's everything's perfect. I would love to see if someone makes a mistake or struggles through something because heaven knows that's how I am when I'm sitting at my craft table. So I would love to see
some of my videos were basically just how to fix a screw up. Because, I did this. Well, let's figure out how to fix this. Because, there's always going to be things that go wrong every time you do anything, especially crafting, because there's just so many things that can go wrong.
Well, and I think that is even maybe more helpful to people than a video that just shows a process start to finish without the blemishes and the screw ups and the failures. Right. Because I think some people get into tumblers. They see these beautiful tumblers. They see someone post this reel of, 30 seconds start to finish. Here's this beautiful tumbler. And they think, wow, that looks so easy. Exactly. I'm going to go spend $600 on all these supplies. And then they try to make one and it's an epic failure. It falls off the turner.
Oh, yes.
Or, they get fish eyes or whatever.
And I have definitely answered, my fair share of questions about that because there are so many people that would go and then they would come and comment, what in the world did you do? How did you get this to work? Or why is this doing? Or my epoxy is running off. I'm like, yeah, that's what it does. You have to turn it. I'm like, it doesn't just stay on there. So, there's a lot of people can take offense to just people asking questions. And, I never really did. I answered if they contacted me through my Minderella Creations Facebook page or through my YouTube or whatever, in the groups I was in, I didn't mind answering questions. And I always tried to reply to everybody at some point to some level, or at least point them to one of my YouTubes or point them to a group that could help them and just make it, easier for other people. Cause I know that not everybody is met with such grace and such help these days. So I just always tried how would I want somebody to respond to me if I was asking a question? And definitely I would want them to be receptive to it. So I tried to do that.
I think you do that really well. And I think that's why you have such a good reputation in the community and why your influence grew so much and why so many people are endeared to you, because you do show your authentic self and you treat people the way they would want to be treated.
Yes. When I went to CultureCon, this past March, I was just amazed by just the people that would come up to me and say stuff like that and say, I watched your videos. I was so glad to learn from you. And I never, like, I didn't think of myself as a very cool person. So I was like, how do you know me?
You're kind of a celebrity, Mindy.
I didn't think that at all. And so when I had people come up to me, it gave me more, like, it made me more aware and just humbled me to know that, I did have an impact on people and I didn't even realize that. So
you absolutely have. And I remember at CultureCon when you walked in, I heard some people kind of nearby me say, oh, that's Minderella. It was like,
Oh, yeah.
Angelina Jolie had walked in or something.
I was like, it's just me. Well, and then they start talking to me and they're like, oh, you're just normal. I thought you'd be like different. I'm like, no.
This is it.
This is me. Yep.
Well, and I was so glad. I was so thrilled that you got to come to CultureCon and take that time for yourself, because that was just so shortly after everything had happened and you were wading through, your grief and everything. And it was such a neat experience, I think, for most of the people who came. So having you there was just icing on the cake.
Well, it was for me too. Like I didn't realize how much I needed those hugs and how much I needed just to be surrounded by, like-minded people and to learn from others and just be able to enjoy it and spend time with people. So it was really good. I really enjoyed it.
And it may have occurred to you, but some of those people that were teaching those classes are people who originally learned from you.
Yeah. So I know I think I was in Holly's class and she's like, and everybody welcome Mindy. She's the one I learned from and she's the original. So I was like, oh gosh, hiding my face. I'm like, oh. So I just didn't realize that. So, I mean, you just don't think about it and then you just kind of be you.
Well, it has definitely worked for you because you do have such a sweet soul and your love for teaching and sharing with others has come through from the very beginning, I think. So it really shows that community that you built with yourself by sharing and loving on people when you needed it most, they were there for you too. You created that.
Oh, yes, they were.
So that was the good.
So many people, Feather Bear and Glamour Tribe. There's so many. I can't even name them all of how many people that were OGs with me. And, we all just kind of found our little niche and found our way. But, it was just so great being right there at the beginning and just being able to really see it go from such a basic thing to just how it is now. I mean, heck, even when, I started talking with CC DIY originally, you guys were just doing other things, hardly even Tumblr stuff. And I was like, well, I need this MSDS sheet and I need, I remember asking for all the things because, the Tumblr people will want to make sure that things are compliant. And I remember, I think it was your Teresa. I think Teresa is the one who I talked with at that point. And oh gosh, it was so funny. She was so sweet. But I was like, I'm sorry, I'm asking so many questions. But I just want to make sure, this and this. And so you guys have just really grown since, first. So like, oh my goodness, it was like you had a few colorants and dyes and, the epoxy. And now it's like complete. You guys have done so much and it's just awesome. I'm so happy to see you guys have grown so much.
It has been a really incredible journey too. And how our business has evolved. Sometimes people ask us, well, when did you start your business? And it's hard to even tell people. I don't really even know, because it just kind of evolved out of Barry starting with concrete countertops and epoxy countertops and flooring. And then he became like an instructor, and he sold epoxy, the epoxies that he was using. And then he started seeing that artists, acrylic pouring artists was really where he focused at first, that they were using epoxy. And then I remember I started seeing tumblers in some of the Cricut groups that I was in.
Yeah.
And I thought I could probably do this with Barry's epoxy, because I saw that's what they were using. And right within that same week, Teresa, who's my sister-in-law, called Barry, and she said, "You're not going to believe this, but people are using epoxy on cups." And he was like, "On cups? What are they doing to these cups?"
That is like, so funny.
"Let me show you some videos." And
oh my goodness,
holy moly, from there it was like 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds.
His mind was a-going.
Yep.
Well, that's awesome. I'm so glad to have been a part of, that early on, and just seeing you guys grow, because it's definitely been fun to watch you grow.
It has. And it's just been fun to see the community at large grow.
Oh, yeah.
And go from something very niche, there was a few dozen people doing this.
I know.
To tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of Tumblr artists, and how they just piggyback off of each other with the designs, and you're definitely a part of that. So it is really it's a neat art form. And I think it is definitely deserves to be called an art form. These tumblers that we see are absolutely works of art.
Oh yeah. I used to not think of myself as an artist when I was starting, doing these, but I'm like, you know what? Now I kind of agree that some of it is art. Like I feel like I am kind of an artist when it comes to certain things. I can't draw to save my life, but so I was like, well, I can't be an artist if I can't draw, but I can throw some glitter on a cup and have some fun with it. So I really did, understand just also the time that it takes, because you understand kind of where artists come from, because one of the things that people would always say is, why are cups so expensive? If can I give you the supplies and then you can make it and then it'll be less expensive? And I'm like, that's not going to work, because there's hours of time that we put into learning and perfecting the techniques, and and that's with any craft, whether you're crocheting or painting or whatever. I mean, there's so many hours and so many failures that it takes to get to when you actually have a good thing and a good product. So I just, it gave me a new love for just art in general, I think, and then a new appreciation for the time it takes to do those kinds of things.
Absolutely. Yeah. I guess my answer to someone, if they said, well, why don't I give you the supplies? I would say, okay, and I'll just charge you minimum wage for my time.
Exactly.
And it's going to be like a $90 cup instead of a $40 cup.
Yes. There was one day where somebody asked me, well, can you just do like one color? I think it was like a checkered cup I was working on, but they asked if they could do it. And I'm like, well, you do realize if I'm doing multiple glitters, I'm going to have multiple waste. I'm going to, there's like a lot that goes into it. And I think I counted like how many hours just to see. And it was like 20 hours of my time that I put into from start to finish with one cup.
Yeah. And then
it was crazy.
Yeah. And you're expected to sell it for $40 or $45.
I was like, oh gosh. Yeah. I'm like, just know that, us cup makers are not ripping you off. Like, you're actually getting a bargain.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And it's an art form. And yeah, the hours and the pain that goes into it when you have to fix things or something doesn't go right.
The loss of clothes when you get epoxy on them.
Oh, girl, I know all about that.
You have to factor in buying new clothes. You have your epoxy jeans and your epoxy shirts.
Yes, and you have to trim the epoxy out of your hair. I've had to do that a few times. Scrape it off the floor.
I literally in my kitchen or dining room now, I have a rug over an area that I was trying to fill one of my little jars all over. It rained down the side. It's still in my carpet. Like I can't get it out. So yeah.
I'm pretty sure epoxy just does not come out of carpet.
No. It'll be there until I get it replaced.
Yeah. When we moved into the house we're in now, we debated on which bedroom to make my craft room. And the room that I'm actually in right now was the one I really wanted to be my craft room, but it's carpeted. Yeah. And Barry was like, well, that'll be okay. Put it in the carpeted room. I was like, you don't understand, man. 1 week in and that carpet is trash.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
So we went with the one that had hardwoods, and that's good because I've scraped a lot of epoxy off the floor,
I bet.
And it's okay. But
that's funny. Yep, I hear you.
Well, Mindy, what kind of final thoughts would you like to share with everybody who's listening as we kind of wrap up for the day?
I would like to say to just enjoy every day that you're given. Be present. Life is short. It's so short in comparison, like with your kids, with your spouses, with your friends. Just be present and don't lose hope. I know that through this past year and a half, there's been times where I felt that I didn't have much hope. And I always tried to just turn it around, look up, focus my eyes back on Jesus, and just grab his hand and pull me up out of that. It's not easy. You're going to have hard days. And I think, you don't know what other people are going through because sometimes what we see is just the smile on Facebook, in a profile picture, the smile in the picture. But what's behind that? There's so many people that are hurting and so many people that are going through things that you just don't know. So just have grace for people. Don't lose hope and just put one foot in front of the other and do the next thing.
Well, thank you so much, Mindy, for sharing your story and for laughing with me today. I'm so glad that you came on the show, and all of your info will be in the show notes for anyone who doesn't already follow you so that they can follow you and your artistic journey and your journey with your kids and doing that next thing every day that you're so good about sharing. So everybody, this is our final episode of this season, and we're hoping that everybody has a really wonderful Christmas, and make sure that you're following Mindy at Minderella Creations, and we will see everybody on the next season of A Culture of Inspiration.
Thank you, Sarah.
Friends, that's a wrap on Season 3 of A Culture of Inspiration. If you haven't already, please make sure to follow us on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a positive review. All 3 seasons are available to listen, and I know you'll find content to help inspire you in your art. Don't forget to follow us on all the socials at Counterculture DIY and join our Facebook group, Counterculture DIY Artist Support, to connect with us, be in the know about future podcast episodes, and stay up to date about all the cool things we've got going on at CCDIY. I hope you all have a fantastic holiday season, and until we talk again, keep creating.